Honorable Minister, Honorable Member, Planning Commission, distinguished guests and friends, as the Minister certainly knows, this report has been a long time coming. It's been really a labor of love and tremendous effort. And it has been really a unique enterprise, both in process and in scope. In terms of process, Mr. Baijal indicated to you how collaborative of an effort this has been. In terms of scope, it started off as an exercise to update the status of rural infrastructure, but then gradually morphed into a really comprehensive overview over multiple decades of the evolution of rural India. The report is actually in two parts. There's the main report, which has this historical overview with empirically grounded, based on synthetic research, a review of the literature, an analysis of working group reports of various government departments, as well as our own surveys. It has the main narrative, then it has a particular thematic section which is focused on a diagnostic of the MN-Rega scheme. And then the second part of the report is a statistical annex, which is really a compendium of what we hope will be a very valuable source of data for future research and commentators to consult and utilize. I have really 5-6 minutes to give you a flavor for what this report has to say. And I will start, so it's an interpretive, it's my interpretation of the report, which in turn is an interpretation of existing research and stylized facts and all kinds of other empirical information. So the narrative of Indian rural India, the way I look at the learnings from the report, is really very complex. And is on in all complex things. There's a lot of good, but then there's also a lot of challenging. So the headline good news is quite dramatic. Rural poverty has climbed down very significantly. Just since 2004-05, rural poverty, and I don't want to go into any debate about how it is measured, no matter how you measured, has come down. But measured according to the Tendulkar methodology, it came down from 42% in 05 to 26% in 11-12. Agricultural wages have gone up. The commercialization of agriculture has increased. People are turning much more to livestock farming. Rural non-farm employment has grown dramatically. Just in 2009, rural non-farm employment accounted for about 42% of the labor force in rural India. It is probably closer to 50%, I would like to guess, today. Rural literacy is up sharply from 44% in 91 to 69% in 2011. Rural-urban connectivity has grown very dramatically, and so has access to markets. And here, the role of infrastructure has been particularly dramatic. Rural penetration of telecom services since 2004 has grown from 1% to 40%. Likewise, rural connectivity through the construction and upgrading of rural roads has grown very, very dramatically. All this has led to dramatic, in my judgment, positive societal and political change in rural India. Caste hierarchies, there is evidence that caste hierarchies are beginning to break down, whereas previously, 20, 30 years ago, the narrative was the landless versus the landlords. Now the narrative is farmers versus government or state over the provision of inputs. Or it is farmers versus industry over the sharing of resources. There is still conflict, but it's a different nature of conflict, and I think that is important progress. Likewise, there is evidence that the agricultural workforce has begun to feminize. There's much greater participation of women in the agricultural labor force as men have turned to non-farm rural employment. So much for the characterization of the positives. Now, what are the challenges? There are old challenges and new challenges that have emerged. Broadly speaking, the challenges fall under three categories. First is inclusion, second is sustainability, and the third is delivery of services stroke governance. Inclusion. Although poverty levels on average have come down dramatically, inter-regional, inter-district poverty differentials have grown quite substantially. There is evidence that there are pockets of deprivation, regional pockets of deprivation. And this is connected to sustainability, and I'll come back to that very briefly in a minute. So, inclusion is not just a problem of geographic stratification, but it is also a problem of social stratification. There is evidence that certain segments of the community, particularly the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, have been particularly affected. 50% of tribal populations in particular remain mired below poverty levels. Briefly, challenges of sustainability. Fragmentation is a very important trend that is cutting across rural India. Fragmentation of land holdings. 85% of land holdings are now below 2 hectares. 67% are below 1 hectare. Degradation is another consistent trend. By some estimates, close to 60% of arable land is now degraded through overuse of chemical fertilizers, through soil erosion, and such like. Groundwater is a big problem. Or water is a big problem. Groundwater has substituted surface water for irrigation. Whereas in 1960, we had only 2 lakh pump sets. In 2009, we had 20 million. A third of our districts today, is well known, are drawing more water than what is being recharged in the ground. And they are very fragile. Sustainability interacts with exclusion. And so, particularly in dry land and rain-fed areas, the sustainability challenge makes the challenge of inclusion even harder. Finally, the third challenge, the delivery of public services. As much progress as we have made across the board in improving education standards, access to electricity, and other basic services, the reality is that 20% of our population, rural population, still lives without 3 essential services: electricity, latrines, and drinking water. That's 20%, 1 in 5 in rural India still live without these 3. Nutrition, likewise, the data is worrisome, although mortality rates in women have come down dramatically. Maternal mortality has come down dramatically, has halved over the last 30 years. The reality is that anemia amongst pregnant women still remains at a startlingly high 87%. Likewise, malnutrition amongst young rural children remains stubbornly high. So the delivery of educational services, the delivery of health services in particular, remains a very problematic challenge. What are the issues? Accountability, lack of focus on outcomes, lack of participation in the design of schemes. These are some of the challenges. So when you take this whole balance sheet, if you like, of good and bad, or good and challenging in rural India, I hope that the few suggestions that come out of the report will be worthy of further discussion and debate. In particular, the 3 or 4 ideas that emerge from the report with respect to future intervention and how to deal with the challenges is, first, we need greater convergence and more streamlining of the myriad schemes and interventions that we have to deal with rural challenges. We need to move towards performance-based incentives in the delivery of public services. We need real-time data on outcomes. We need more social outputs, audits, greater transparency to make the delivery of public services more accountable. We certainly need more capacity building at all levels of government, but particularly at the level of the panchayat. And finally, we need greater participation and democratization in decision making and policy design. I know the minister has thought very deeply about all these issues, and his government has, over the last 10 years, done remarkable things focused on this emerging diagnostic. So I will now request him, oh no, maybe that's not the program, Chair. So I've done my duty. I have given you, I hope, a flavor of the report and set the stage for subsequent discussions. Thank you.